Okay, it is literally 10:30 at night. Wasn't really planning on filming this video, but I just had a burst of inspiration really from you guys. So I opened a conversation on my Instagram and it all began. There was this new like sparkle filter that I was just gonna put on my photo and like take a picture of and have the background be sparkly. And then when I put it on, it made my face like super smooth and poreless, made my eyes a little bigger and my face a little slimmer, but like just subtly. Like it was one of those things where you put it on and you just see your face go and like make the adjustment. And like it just, I don't know why it struck me, because I feel like we're so used to seeing it. You hop on Snapchat, you hop on Instagram, and like filters are so normalized. I also do want to just add in for context, when I say filter, I mean face altering filters, not just like a colored filter or color correction. I mean something that alters your face in a dramatic way that is not so obvious. It's not like when you have butterflies coming out of your eyes, like a very subtle but slight face altering or face smoothing filter. That's what I mean when I say filter moving forward. Anyways, I feel like now I've lost my train of thought. But it's so weird how normalized all these filters are. And let's be real, we've all done it. And I include myself in this. I have used these filters before. I have tried them out. Something I actually have always made a very conscious effort to, whether it's on my Instagram stories, Instagram photos, and my YouTube videos, to make videos where I don't 100% look made up and have flattering lighting all the time. Sure, I get the appeal. I get wanting to feel your best at every single moment, because let's be real, that's what society tells us to be. Like, that's nothing new. We know this. We've been feeling the pressure since we were born, you know? And this isn't just for women, this is all genders. And it's just, it really struck me, specifically this damn sparkle filter. I don't know what it was. So I'm sitting there and I'm going through the collection of Instagram, like try me little face filter things, and every single one, with the exception of like one, altered my face. And we're not just talking it gave me like a bit of a tan, it put a grain and like a retro effect. We're talking it did the color correction and then also slightly tweaked my face a little bit. And it was just like, damn, I'm trying to just like make the sky look more pink, or you just think you're using this color correcting preset, but no, it is changing your face. And guess what? We're so normalized to seeing that face that becomes the standard. And you're like, oh, might as well just throw it on. And it's this horrible cycle of us feeling bad about it and just getting in that loop. So I was kind of just like sitting there like, oh, like this hurts my brain. And if I'm someone who is 22 years old and I feel mentally stable and in a good headspace, and also I'm someone who I think has a lot of confidence and don't struggle with a lot of self-doubt, it even makes me go like, oh, I did look better with that on. Or you're on Facetune and it's so easy to hop and like hit the reshape tool. And you guys know, and I know you press that little button down there to just see what it would look like, and you see the original, and you go back, you hit the original, and you go, oh, this is shocking. And then you start to hate the original version, and it's like, it actually blows my mind. So I put this out on Instagram stories, me just like literally testing out all the filters, being like, look, this one also blurs out my skin. The craziest thing, I go on, you know those game filters where it like asks you little quiz questions? It's straight up just supposed to be a filter for you to play a game. Even when you put those filters on, every single one of them smoothed my skin and made my eyes a bit bigger. This is literally so messed up. It's so crazy. And I don't know why. I mean, I guess I've always kind of been like, oh, that's interesting. But also on the flip side, there's like this weird part of your brain that like enjoys it, because you're like, oh, I look a little better. Like, thank you. Like, I appreciate you smoothing out my skin. And it is just normalized. And I don't know, it's weird. In some ways I'm like, oh, am I overreacting? Am I making this a bigger deal than it needs to be? But then the other side, I'm like, no, it is a big deal. And it's all of these little subtleties, whether it's from society. I mean, I don't even necessarily want to say society, because I also do take personal responsibility. And this is something that I was chatting about as well. It's, if I use those filters, I'm also continuing to perpetuate that and telling other people, oh, this is what we need to look like. And man, it is just so insane. And I feel like, especially lately, something about Instagram stories, I've just always felt the need to be very like candid. And I mean, you guys see me all the time with my pimple cream on, looking not done up. And I've always felt very comfortable doing that, but I completely understand that a lot of people don't. And I think, honestly, it might even be like just a routine and a practice thing, because the more I do it, the more I like just don't care. And I think, though, it would be a lot more pressure if I'm like continually using these filters and like, you know what it is? There's a group of filters specifically on Instagram that's called like top model look. And I see a ton of bloggers, other YouTubers, people use these filters. And this top model filter basically, you know, makes your nose a bit slimmer, your face have more like cheekbones, bigger lips, and it kind of like airbrushes your skin. And we're not just talking one filter, like there was a collection of a variety of them. And I see people use them all the time. And do I think if you're using a filter once in a while, is it the end of the world? No. Do I think it's a bigger problem if you only ever show yourself on camera with these filters on and heavily altered photos? Yes. I think I can see both perspectives. I see the perspective of, from a photographer, from a makeup artist, you wanting to take a beautiful image or having a stylized edit. That is a whole separate category, and that's not what I'm talking about. It's really just perpetuating the idea that, oh my gosh, no filter, just woke up like this. It's not this obvious colored butterfly effect. You're trying to make people believe that this is just what we look like. Or not even that, it's just showing that, oh, I can't even be on camera without it. Subconsciously or consciously, like I don't know what it is. And the problem is that we don't even think about it. A lot of people don't think twice to just swipe up and pop on a little filter, and it takes 2 seconds. And I mean, I do have to, again, I'm trying to see this from both sides. I do appreciate, at least on Instagram, that if you're using any of those try on face filter things, it does tell you at the top bar, it'll be like using model, whatever. But also you can just save the video and post it again and it won't say that. So I'm sure there are many people that do that as well. It also got me thinking, because I was just recently, this must have been like a collection over the past few weeks, all these little subtle things have happened, and then truly, when I put on that filter tonight, this just like let off a loose cannon, and I feel like I can't stop talking and I'm just blabbering. But it got me thinking, because the other day I was watching some YouTube vloggers, and also to be clear, I'm not making this video to specifically call out any creators or to have people in the comments be like, so-and-so does this. Like, that's not the intention. My purpose of making this video is to ask the greater question, whether is this society driven? How can we as individuals, do we hold the power? Can we break the cycle? Can we change it? How can we challenge these ideas? How can we break this cycle for next generations? But it got me thinking. So I was watching this YouTube video, and this person, I think, was like vlogging on their phone and using a face filter, to the point that at one point when they were vlogging and turned around, you kind of like saw the face detection pop up and like the filter kind of change. And it was actually really weird, because my first reaction wasn't to be like to laugh at it, or my first reaction was like, oh, that's so sad. This person has been vlogging the whole time and I'm not even like looking at their real face. But it's sad, because it's like, I get it. There is, whether it's from people commenting saying, oh, you look so ugly without makeup on, which again, to be fair, I feel lucky, like this community on here and my audience and even on Instagram, like you guys have never been like that, which I feel grateful for. But I get it. You get it. Comments like that all the time. You have people of positions of power that are saying these are the standards. You look in magazines, you see that standard. You see other Instagram photos, and like it's just this whole collection. You can't point your finger at one person and blame the entire issue. It is all these little like small little actions that all contribute to the greater problem. And I don't know the answer, but what was really interesting is that I posted a question a couple of hours ago, and I was asking you all, do you use face altering filters? If you do, why do you? If you don't, why don't you? That kind of thing. And it was really interesting, because I feel like there was definitely a range of opinions in terms of, is it bad? Oh, you can use it once in a while. And also open up the conversation about Photoshop as well. Like, oh, is it bad to Photoshop out a pimple? So there was definitely, I feel like, a range of opinions, which is interesting. To some people saying, yes, you use a face altering filter once, that is bad. To some people saying, you can use it a few times, but as long as you're showing your real self, that at least, you know, adds a little bit of range, and that's a bit okay. some people saying, oh, if you Photoshop out a pimple, that's okay. That's not a permanent part of you. That comes and goes. I get it. And again, full transparency, I used to struggle with acne. That was like my biggest insecurity. I have many of times smoothed out photos where I had horrible acne. And this is, I mean, more years ago when I didn't really think about it. I think you'll even see, you can scroll back, I guess, through my Instagram. I even used to just heavily like color edit my Instagram photos. And that was more at the time when it was like to be aesthetic and like have a feed and stuff. And I feel like Instagram has kind of evolved out of that now. And lately I've just been like really not even putting filters on my photo at all. I just kind of enjoy just like getting better natural lighting. But again, that being said, I have no problem with like color correcting and actual like proper photo editing in that way. The problem is with structural, I have a bad speech impediment, and structural, the R's just really get me. But making those making those changes to your bone structure is definitely has got to be a problem. It can't be good. And it really just makes me think, and again, I don't think it is specific to a certain age category, but it does make me very concerned for my younger cousins, for the youth of today's generation, like kids particularly, who I feel like are extra susceptible and who are growing up in this world. And it makes me think too, because I feel like I very much so I'm 22, I was born in 1997. I very much so, when I was in those developing like preteen years, grew up in the world of like magazines. I was obsessed with reading, whether it was like trash magazines, J14, Teeny Bopper, little magazines. Like I loved all magazines. I would read them all, look at all the photos, cut them out, make collages. Like I was just obsessed with it. And I think what's more damaging, what is worse? Is it worse having photos coming from traditional media that are heavily photoshopped, showcasing really only one body type, typically very European features, not diverse, typically? Is that worse? Or is today's age worse, where we have social media and we can Facetune, edit, use all these filters, and there's free range on that? Like there's no limit to what you can and can't do. And I don't know. In some ways, I honestly, in my heart, my personal opinion is that social media, if used the right way, is better, in the sense that you have a diverse range of people, opinions, body types, all of these things. But if you get into the wrong category of, you start following all these accounts that, you know, edit heavily, then I think it can be just as damaging. So it's also hard too, because it's like, how do you, if I'm thinking about like kids that are following people, how does a 10-year-old who has Instagram know the difference of what is real as what is fake? Like I feel like now I'm at the age of, I'm like, okay, I can tell that photo is heavily edited, like that's not real. But it sometimes can be hard. Like sometimes I even question, like, oh, even simple things, we're not even talking like face structure or body face tuning or any of that. Like even things like makeup. I was having this conversation a few days ago on my Instagram with you guys, talking about how even with makeup photos, I sometimes struggle being, and I say this as a makeup artist, I look at other photos and I'm like, oh, I can't do makeup that good. I don't know how to make the colors look that bright. But hey, guess what? It's all Facetune. It's not even real. Like that's not even the actual makeup. And sure, there's totally an art to Photoshop in creating a beautiful image. Having those skills is it's another like art within itself, but also that's not the true makeup art, you know? So, and I fall into this all the time, and I'm someone who works in this world and should get it. But there's so many times when I look at those photos and I go, oh, that sucks. I can't do my makeup that good. And then a couple weeks later, or I go to their Instagram stories and they go, how I edited today's makeup photo. And you see the before, which I'm grateful. I do think if you're going to edit, like I think it's helpful to show the process of how you got to say a final image. But yeah, it really is so crazy. And I think if I'm someone who still like has those moments going, oh, I should look like that, or oh, I wish my skin looked that good, or oh, I wish my cheeks weren't as chubby, or like whatever it is, that how do people feel that aren't in a good headspace, or that are young, or people that don't fit in at all to these, and I say this very loosely, to these unrealistic beauty standards? Like, oh, it makes me so sad, actually. It really does. I also, when I head to Instagram, I feel like I mean, I think you are all the best, slash, I love your opinions, and you all are way too smart and have such insightful comments and responses, and I think you all are great. So thank you to anyone that has been a part of this discussion, whether you're in the YouTube comments, Instagram, DMing me. I've been having so many wonderful conversations, and so many of you are also expressing that, yes, I think this is bad. Yes, I sometimes use them, but I don't know how to stop. And it's this weird thing where I think if we could all collectively, like out of all the responses, there's been probably like 500 DMs that I've gone through. And this is just over the past few hours. I'm sure there'll be even more, opinions and perspectives and responses by the time I upload this video. But not once have I seen a reply saying, yes, I use these filters, and yes, I feel confident about it, or yes, I don't see a problem with it. Every single person, whether people saying they use these filters sometimes or not, every single person goes, yeah, I don't think this is a good thing. This has affected me negatively. Yeah, this is not good. So it's like, if we can all identify that it is not good, and we're all majority saying that this is actually hurting your insecurities and making your personal insecurities amplified that much greater, because as soon as you take off that filter, you go, oh, that's what I really look like. Like, we all have that moment where you take it off, you go, oh, like, my face looks like it's not, you think it's not good. You're automatically, your gut reaction is to automatically go like, oh, my real face is not as good. This filtered version is better. And so the question is, it's like, how do we break the cycle? And that's the question I pose to you all as well. It's like, I think it's so easy to be like society, but it's like, who actually dictates what society is? Yes, there are so many, obviously, there's layers to this. It's not just a clear-cut answer. But we also do have to take personal responsibility and identify that I, as like Jaclyn, an individual, I do take personal responsibility. And I don't want to be using these face filters every single day, because I know, whether subconsciously or not, whether one person sees it or 100,000 people see it, that does have an impact, and that's not a positive impact, and not the impact that I want to put onto other people. Not the impact I want to have. I just made that way more complicated than it needed to be. So it's like, the question remains, if I know it's bad, what do we do then? So this is my pitch. And again, I've obviously reduced this to a very simple level, and I know it's not this simple, but we just need to stop. I think if we all collectively, it's like we've set the standard to be this unrealistic, doesn't even look real. Like, they have these alien-like features that aren't even human proportions, and we are so unaffected by it. Like, it's so normal. We don't even bat an eye. If we all create that as the standard, like, we just need to collectively just make a different standard, right? And it is hard. Of course, we're always going to have those outliers of people that heavily edit or do their thing, but I think collectively, at least on average, if we're using these things less, I think that is good. And I know it's like, again, easier said than done. If I'm having a bad day and I feel gross and I put on a filter and it's like, oh, it makes me feel better, I get the immediate serotonin boost of that. I understand it. But I mean, obviously this question, again, goes much deeper, and it's much more complicated than just saying, just stop doing it. Stop being insecure. Just put yourself out there in your most raw and genuine form. And it's very vulnerable. Like, I get how that's scary, but I would rather someone put themselves out in their most vulnerable form. And okay, I guess if I put it this way, I would rather, what do I think is better for someone? This is actually, I don't know if this is making sense. This is, this is a stream of consciousness. I haven't really thought this through. But it's like, what do I think is actually better for a human? Do I think it's better for someone's confidence to post a heavily face-altered photo, use a face-altering filter, and get a bunch of replies and comments like, oh my God, babe, you look so good. Like, I love this. Like, oh my God, you're so cute. Love this pic. Like, I'm sure that must make you feel worse, because you're like, oh, they only like me. Because you're telling your brain, oh, they only like me when I use this filter. Therefore, I must only use this filter if I want this type of positive response. Like, that is a negative, brain wave connection. Like, that is not good. So I would much rather, and what I think probably is healthier in the long term, if we have any like psychologists down below in the comments that want to chime in, would love to hear your actual educated thoughts. Again, want to be clear, I have no formal education in this or psychology or anything in this world. I'm just a 22-year-old girl who uses social media and just sometimes am blown away by the audacity of these filters. Anyways, but it's like, I think that it probably is actually healthier and probably more character building if I post a photo, like right now I've got some active pimples. I don't even know if you can see because this light is so bright. But if I posted a photo and I had some quote, and I heavily say quote, unquote, gross pimples, I would rather someone reply and go, ew, Jaclyn, your skin looks like a pizza. You're gross. I would rather someone bully and or harass me for something real. No. Is that what I wanted to say? I don't want anyone to bully anyone, let me be clear. But I would rather someone throw a negative comment at me for what I truly am, for what you truly are, which is ugly. She's the Man is just such an iconic movie. Oh, guys, this is why I don't film videos at like 10:17 in the evening. I'm just a little all over the place. But I would rather have someone not like me or my appearance or have something annoying to say about who I actually am and what I know is real see, this isn't sounding good though when I say it out loud. But I think I would rather have that than someone giving me all these fake compliments and being nice to me, but only when they see a fake version of me. It didn't sound as good coming out, but in my head I still think that makes the most sense. But I don't know. General consensus, I don't know. I don't know what the actual answer is, but I just think my heart knows that it's not good. And again, happy to see these beautiful, amazing butterfly filters that are very creative and fun and very clearly a filter. Do I think the slightly like not so obvious face changing filters are good? There's no way. It's not good for you. It's not good for me using it. It's not good for the people consuming it and seeing it. There is no positive, like there's nothing positive. Because even so, it's like someone seeing your photo and goes, it's not like they're going, oh wow, she looks so beautiful. I'm so happy for her. Let's be real, 9 times out of 10, the reaction is, oh wow, she looks so pretty and I look so gross. I hate myself even more. Like we take, a lot of the times, take that personally and use it as a negative on our own appearance. Do you know what I'm saying? Anyways, it is very interesting. Again, how can we as individuals, I guess, take action? Sure, we can't change the course of society and these years of just messed up, unrealistic beauty standards. That's a whole other topic. But as myself, what can I do? I can unfollow accounts that I know are heavily filtered and altered, or just things that don't make me feel good about myself. I want to continue to follow and promote and uplift other accounts that show all different sides of it. And again, I'm not saying like, I get it. If I'm having an awful day and I'm crying and I feel miserable, yes, I'm not gonna go take a picture and be like, hey, Instagram, like I'm feeling so miserable today. Like, I get, we don't wanna show every part of our life and no one owes that. But I do think, especially, I guess this is maybe leaning towards more the like creator side or other YouTubers or things like that. I do think there is somewhat of a personal responsibility, at least I feel it, and especially particularly working a lot in the beauty space and working as a makeup artist, which has so many unrealistic beauty standards already within it. I do take responsibility that if I'm gonna show myself looking glam and with, you know, makeup and hair that took 3 hours, I also wanna show sometimes when I don't look like that. And I don't know, it's very interesting. A really good question. I know this video is all over the place. I got a really good response actually to one of the stories that really just like, oh, made me think. This is what they said. So it said, okay, I do agree with all of this in terms of face filters and how that's damaging, but this got me thinking, is it that different with makeup? I definitely feel like I need makeup when I'm going out or going to work or whatever, and that's definitely a cycle too. Now this was interesting. I feel like initially my ego / personal bias kicked in and I was like, no, what are you talking about? I only wear makeup for me and for no one else. And I get that. And I do accept that within myself. But on the other hand, playing like devil's advocate, I do also see the validity in that, because let's be real, like if I'm going to an important social function or a work event, I will have makeup on and I wouldn't feel properly done without it. Now, sure, there's other, of course, caveats to that. And also on a personal level, like I am someone who, 5 out of 7 days of the week, I go out and live my life without makeup, just looking like this. And I am fine with that and I feel comfortable. And I know not everyone's like that. So I already take that as a privilege. And also I recognize that for myself, most of the time it is just a creative outlet. I find it fun. It's an artistic way to express myself. And I also just enjoy feeling glam and getting done up. And I would say 99% of the time it is for like a personal like feeling, and it's just something that I like to do, and it's for myself. But I'm not going to lie and say that there's not those 1% of time, 1%, probably 10%, who knows what the actual percentage is. But there aren't those moments where it's like, I feel gross, I don't want to go out and see people looking like this, so I'm going to put on makeup to feel better so that they think like, of course, like, and it's being dishonest if we say we don't. And I agree, like the feminist in me also wants to say like, I never wear makeup for boys or anything like that, which again, I agree, but also I acknowledge there's a small part that sometimes when I'm having a bad day and I have my acne flaring up, that I put on concealer to feel better, to go out into the world and to, show face to the public. So I get both sides of it. I feel like with the makeup part of it specifically, it's less of a clear-cut answer, and that I don't feel as strongly. But again, is it just my own personal bias because I love makeup? But that one's a bit harder, but I do think there is some validity to that statement as well. Another interesting DM that came in that, again, just thought-provoking, and I wanted to share on here. Actually, let me pull it up. Oh, this is interesting. This actually wasn't the DM that I wanted to read to you guys, but I'm just going to add this in here. Someone replied and said, definitely a big deal. It's like we're going back to this insane classical art style where things are only painted or portrayed in the ideal way. Very true. Oh, so this is the DM that I wanted to read. It says, and this is about the makeup conversation. I think using makeup or filters or touching up photos is okay when it's used to alter something that isn't permanently a part of you. For example, covering up or touching up acne. Acne comes and goes and isn't a permanent part of you. I also think makeup is a great tool to use and enhance your features and boost confidence. And for people like you who do makeup for fun, it can be an artistic way of expressing yourself. So yes, I definitely get that. And I don't think I agree with it. I think though the argument that actually has something to be said is more just the idea of not feeling done without, your hair and makeup done. And no matter how we try to fight it or make a stance against it, there kind of always is that little voice, I feel like, that goes, oh, you should do this. And I mean, it comes to every part, and specifically I think, especially in the past, has been more intense and directed to women. But that's also not to say there's not a ton of unrealistic expectations set on men as well. I think all genders, we all experience a degree of that. But I think especially in history, women in particular, whether we're being told, shaving our bodies, things like that, like there's so many layers to it. And I don't know. I don't have the answers. This is going to be a very unsatisfying video. You just hear me rant for 20 minutes, and at the end I go, and I don't know how to help it. I think though, if I'm being honest, I think a positive step is at least just having these conversations, being candid about it, having conversations with your friends, DMing about this, talking on videos. It's like, I think the beauty of social media and everyone having access to a platform and to have a voice is that we get to challenge these ideas and be loud about them. And I don't think there's ever going to be a world where people don't Facetune or use filters on your face. I don't think I don't know. Sure, I think that is ideal, but I don't think there's ever going to be a world where that is completely erased. And the reality is, we do things every day, and I don't think this is, good or bad, but I pose a certain way in photos that I think are the most flattering. We all do little things, and that's fine, and there's nothing wrong with making yourself feel better, but I do think there is a problem with taking it to the next level, taking it to the extreme. you're not only hurting yourself, you're hurting people that also see it. And I just think it's a problem. I think ultimately, at the end of the day, there is always 10 times more power and connection and meaningfulness, is that a word? In being vulnerable and authentic. I know that's such a buzzword. I kind of like hate saying that, like being your authentic self. But I really do think there is so much more power in that. And sure, it can be harder in the moment, but I do think it is kind of like a muscle, and the more you practice it, the more it gets easier. So that is a challenge I just put out there into the world. Maybe this conversation made you think, maybe it made you reflect on, yeah, why do I always default to using that? I think ultimately, especially if it does just come down to like self-confidence, personal insecurity, what makes you feel worse at the end of the day? And I'll use myself and my insecurity of my skin as an example. What would make me feel worse if I, A, used a skin blurring filter on every single photo, I used it on every single Instagram story and in every single YouTube video, and I made everyone believe that I had perfect, baby smooth, flawless, amazing complexion. And then now I'm paralyzed with the idea of going out in public or seeing my friends or meeting a viewer, because I'm like, oh my gosh, are they then gonna hate my skin and think it looks 10 times worse in real life? And then, oh no, I don't wanna leave the house. Like, I think that has a greater negative ripple effect than the idea of going, I feel kind of insecure. My pimple is raging and juicy and about to explode on camera. Like, yes, it sucks and I don't really wanna put myself out there, but at least then you guys are just seeing me for what I truly am. And when I go out into the real world, I don't have to worry about that insecurity being amplified because I've lied about it or tried to hide it. And then it just becomes this bigger deal than it needs to be. And then it's always on your mind, and then you're thinking about it more, and then the insecurity is just getting, amplified times 100. I think I would want the second option. I think I just want you to see my juicy pimple that I just popped out. And that's the thing, like, my pimples aren't even bad right now. Like, my acne used to be 10 times worse, but now I'm like, oh, but it's not perfect. I have 2 baby pimples. Like, how dare I? How dare I have regular human, it's, man, it is crazy. I feel like I could talk about this for ages. But please share your comments down below if you have any personal experiences you want to share, your thoughts consuming Instagram perfect content. I mean, the reality is this crazy, perfect, filtered Instagram culture is nothing new. We're all so used to it that, like, none of this is new news. We know this, and we're so, like, just scroll by. Who cares? You don't think twice about it. And I think that is why this whole conversation, I guess, needs to be had. But yeah, would love to hear your comments. I'm going to be doing my best to kind of hop in and join these discussions as well. Again, something that honestly really excites me, especially when having these conversations with a lot of like-minded individuals, it does give me like this sense of like, ooh, we can do this. We got this. We're this new generation that can just pave the way and change everything how it's done and just disrupt things and make things better. And as much as there are many things in the world that do make me feel genuinely very hopeless, the influence and the ideas and the power of our youth in particular is something that does actually give me hope. And I really think if there's any generation, any moment in history or time to do it, it is now. We have the power, we have the platforms, we also just like, we have the power within ourselves to just not care. Like, we just have to be like, hey, I don't care. Like, and again, it's like, I know it's so much easier said than done to just be like, I don't care if you think I'm disgusting. I don't care if you don't like me. But I do think there's a lot of power in that, and that will go a long way. So yeah, it really just does add a whole new layer to, and again, I don't want to make this like specific to like just kids growing up, but especially if you're growing up, this is just a whole new beast now you got to like tackle and like digest and just live with. And it's so easy to just be like, well, just turn it off, just don't go on social media. The reality is it's gonna bleed into our lives some way or another. So I think rather than just like avoiding it, it's just like dealing with the situation head on / making personal choices, whether it's, yeah, not using these filters, whether it's unfollowing people that you just don't agree with what they try to, you know, perpetuate or put out into the world. And I think at the end of the day, it also just comes down to like being a kind person. It's like, you can't watch this video and agree and go, yeah, like, go Jaclyn, I love what you're saying, I agree with you. But then you also can't be the person that then goes and comments on someone else's video when they're not looking completely done up and go, ew, this looks gross, you look better in your Instagram photo. Like, those two, sorry, there's like traffic outside making lots of noise. But anyways, it doesn't work both ways. You have to continue to uplift people around you, especially if, like, if you see someone who you normally see using these like model filters or just like whatever, and then they stop using it, sure, it might be a little jarring at first. You might be like, oh, that's not who I thought you looked like. But you also have to uplift and encourage people and just spread kindness. I think it can go a long way. I think it can change the standards. Like, let's just make a better place. I mean, I think back to places, it is so weird. I think back to, why did YouTube even become a thing? Why, when I was in grade 7, I started watching YouTube like very like religiously. Why did I connect with it so much? Why do I choose it 9 times out of 10 over traditional media? There was this layer of authenticity that I didn't get in any other media, whether it's magazines, formal interviews that I was watching, or movies or shows. It's, you got to kind of see like behind the curtain and see what other real people were like. And it's kind of gone so backwards because now social media has, you know, and I get it, everything goes in waves, and we're in this super filtered world right now, and the trend is going to be the complete opposite now in, you know, a few years, which I will be excited for. But I get these trends come and go, and it's always just like two extremes in a balancing act. It is really so weird how it's gone so far the other way, and it's making it this perfect thing again. And the craziest thing is, like, it's one thing if everyone's doing that and everyone's like feeling incredible and inspired, but no one is feeling that way. Everyone is just hating themselves more, and it's like, it's so sad. It really is. It's so sad. Anyways, this was a bit of a mess and a little all over the place, but I'm not gonna apologize for it because this is just what I was thinking. Anyways, I hope you guys did enjoy this, and I hope this made you think and reflect and maybe make you change some actions moving forward in a positive way. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching. I'm gonna head to bed right now, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.